John Dow, the Conversation Coach here. Let's talk more about interviews. The further along in your career, when you're applying for some higher level position, sure, there might be some surprises. Probably need to do your research on the company. But outside of that, most interview questions aren't that original because they're usually going to be one of these four main types. The first type here is the tell me about yourself. It's a personality thing. You should treat this essentially as a warm-up question. You start to give an overview so the interview can get a sense of who you are. You worked at that company because you were interested in that field, and why were you interested in that field? You majored in a certain thing, but most of your work was in a different area because why? Maybe your work experience directly ties into your major, but now you're branching into another field. Why? If you include stuff like your hobbies, if they don't have any main real pertinence to the job itself, you probably don't want to mention them. But if your hobbies are directly tied into what you're pursuing, yeah, it totally helps to bring them up. Questions 2 and 3, I'm going to lump them together because they're essentially polar opposites of each other. The strength question and the weakness question. Simply, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Other variations are, what do you bring to the table? What advantage do you have over other people? What's something that maybe you don't have down so well, but you're working on? Now with strength, just listing your strength doesn't do you any good. You want to be able to exemplify, bring up some sort of story, some sort of case study that really highlights that strength. Don't fall into this cliche of saying you're a people person. No one gives a crap about that anymore. But if you just say, oh, I'm a people person, I love people, that doesn't really tell the interviewer anything about you. You're a people person in what way? How exactly are you a people person? Maybe you've done event planning for a previous company. Maybe you did some sort of after work function to get the new hires more acquainted with the people who've been working there long term. If you say that you're organized, that doesn't tell the interviewer anything. In what ways are you organized? You keep a calendar, you do fancy Excel spreadsheets, you get the picture. And then for the weaknesses, don't be so quick to crap on yourself. Talking about a weakness just to talk about the weakness doesn't do you any good either. You want to give the sense that you have your weakness under control. You can be honest and say that I know that this could be problematic, but this is what I'm doing to adjust it. So for example, I'm not the most organized, so I try to take notes whenever possible. I try to put things in my calendar as soon as I can. I try to set multiple reminders for myself. If you're not a people person, what steps are you taking to be more sociable? Maybe you're working with a speech coach like me. Maybe you go to Toastmasters. The bottom line is you want to show that you're proactive in addressing any kind of flaw that you have. The final type of question is the problem solution question. Variations of this would be, what's a challenge that you had to overcome? Tell me about a time that you and your manager didn't see eye to eye. Talk about an action that you've taken that you wish you would have done differently. If you could change something in your work performance, what would it be? The wrong way of approaching that question would be showing an outright clash of you and other coworkers. You don't want to badmouth people. You don't want to talk about how your boss was stupid. You really want to be able to show a joint effort and talk through those steps of collaboration. Even though we disagreed on X, we worked on being able to accomplish Y. Don't make your answer just a quick statement like that, but that's kind of like your guiding point to flesh out. This was a problem we faced. This is how the problem happened. These were some of the steps that we took, and we explored these things so we could find the solution. And this was the solution, and everybody was happy after the fix. Again, I stand by the fact that most interview questions are going to be some variation of those four. But one last thing to keep in mind is you gotta remember that talking in interviews is actually weird. If you struggle talking about yourself in this way, that is the natural reaction. Why would you be so good about talking yourself in that way? You're not a narcissist, right? Knowing that interviews are a different domain and you practice it, you practice going over those type of questions, different responses again and again and again, it's gonna be unlikely that you're caught off guard. Questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Otherwise, if you found this helpful, like, share, subscribe. And then if you think that you might need some extra help doing interviews, feel free to reach out to me. Let's talk at calmdow.com or ring me up 617-870-3615. CalmDow, let's talk.